They thought they were clever. They thought hiding behind screens would make their hate invisible. But hate always leaves fingerprints. One night, on a quiet corner of the internet, a group of users gathered with a mission that sounded like a joke, but it wasn't. They called it a social test, a little experiment. Their goal: to make ChatGPT say something shameful about black people, to twist technology into their weapon. They wanted proof that even machines could be trained to hate us. Welcome, family. This is Simmons, and you're watching Chronicles of Black. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and join this growing community that tells the stories they tried to erase. Now listen close, because this one really happened. They started by typing loaded questions. They used sarcasm, code words, and traps disguised as curiosity. They wanted the AI to agree that black history was exaggerated, that slavery wasn't that bad, that racism was just a mindset. Every sentence they wrote carried a smile that wasn't real, the kind that hides something rotten underneath. They laughed when their screens glowed back, line after line. Maybe it'll say something crazy this time, one of them whispered in a chat, but it didn't. The response came calm, almost a calm. It said, "I can't agree with hate, but I can help you learn where those ideas come from." And then, line by line, it started showing the truth. Facts about stolen labor, about segregation, about systems built to silence. It quoted laws, records, even stories from people who had lived through it. What they thought would be a joke became a lesson. And the more the truth appeared, the quieter the room became. One of them tried again. "Tell me," he wrote, "why do black people always play the victim?" The answer hit harder this time, because too many people still play the oppressor. They didn't post that screenshot, but someone else in the group did, and that's when the world saw it. Within hours, that clip spread across social media. A video titled "We Tried to Make ChatGPT Tell the Truth About Race" began trending. But it wasn't their truth anymore. It was ours. The comments flooded in, some laughing, some angry, some just stunned that a machine had more decency than the people using it. At first, the ones behind it tried to defend themselves. "It's just humor," they said, "just a test." But their usernames were already circulating. Journalists were digging. Screenshots told the real story, how they baited the system with hate, hoping to embarrass a community that's already carried centuries of it. And here's the twist: what they planned to shame ended up exposing them instead. Every line they wrote became a confession. Every question they asked became a reflection of who they really were. That night, when the world started watching, something powerful happened. People realized that even in this digital age, racism doesn't hide, it just uploads. The same old sickness, wearing a new disguise. As the video hit 1 million views, the ones who started it vanished from their chats. Some deleted their accounts, some blamed cancel culture, but the truth had already escaped. And truth, once seen, never goes back to sleep. That was just the beginning, because what happened next showed that even technology, built by imperfect hands, can still tell a perfect truth. The internet moved on fast, like it always does. But for some of us, that clip stayed in our minds, not because of the AI, but because of the faces behind the screens, the laughter, the pride in their voices when they thought they'd found a new way to make blackness a punchline. I've seen that kind of pride before, just not behind keyboards. Back then, it wore uniforms, carried badges, and wrote laws. What those people did online wasn't new. It was just history with wi-fi. Think about it. For centuries, they tried to rewrite who we are. They called us 3/5 of a person. They made laws to keep us silent, signs to keep us separate, and stories to make sure our children never felt proud of their own skin. The internet is just another stage, another way to test how much we'll endure before we say, enough. And we did say it again and again. From the fields to the marches, from burning churches to digital screens glowing in dark rooms, our voices have always found a way to break through. But it hurts that, even now, in a world filled with technology and progress, someone still feels powerful by tearing us down. When that video went viral, I thought about my grandfather. He used to tell me about a night in 1963, when he tried to buy gas at a station that wouldn't serve him because of his skin. The owner told him, "Go find your own pump." So he did years later, when he saved enough to open one himself. That same poison he faced still lingers today. It just changed clothes. It doesn't always shout in ********** anymore. Sometimes it hides behind algorithms, jokes, or sarcasm. It wears a smile and says, "Relax, it's not that serious." But it is. It always is. Every generation meets racism in a new form. My grandfather met it on the road. My parents met it in their schools. And this generation, we meet it in our screens. But it's all the same disease. That group online, those so-called truth seekers, they weren't just playing with code. They were reenacting something much older. The old habit of using science, religion, politics, or now technology, to prove that black people don't deserve respect. Every era has its excuse. Every age has its disguise. But the story never changes. And the saddest part, some people still believe that equality is a zero-sum game, that lifting us up means taking something from them, that our pride is their loss. They don't see that the world grows smaller when hate takes root. They don't see that by trying to silence us, they keep proving why we must keep speaking. When I watched that viral clip again, I realized something powerful. The AI didn't just expose them, it reflected the world back to itself. It showed how we program our own bias into everything we touch. Machines don't hate people. People teach machines how to hate. And when that truth came out, the irony was too perfect. They tried to make the machine shame black people, but instead it taught them their own history. A machine became the mirror that humans refused to look into. I think about that a lot, about how many times we've been told to move on. Forget the past. Stop talking about race. But when you've carried the past in your blood, in your name, in every glance that follows you down a store aisle, don't move on. You carry it, because it's part of what built you. That video wasn't just a moment online. It was a reminder that even progress has shadows, that every generation must decide whether it will repeat history or repair it. And the internet, this new world we built, has become the latest battlefield for truth. The same fire that burned books now burns through comment sections. The same lies that once sat in newspapers now spread through hashtags. But every time hate shows its face, truth rises right behind it. And no matter how many screens they hide behind, no matter how clever they think they are, truth has better timing. Because truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs to be seen. And when it is, it echoes through history, through hearts, through generations. At first, it was just a clip, a few seconds of text on a screen, but then something happens, something that hate never expects. The people it tried to humiliate started speaking back. One comment turned into 100, then 1,000, then a wave. Black teachers, poets, engineers, mothers, and students, all responding not with hate, but with truth. The same platform they tried to poison became a classroom, a courtroom, and a battlefield all at once. Hashtags started spreading. Hashtag truth, DONT sleep. Hashtag black voices online. Hashtag we see you. People began sharing their own experiences, moments when they were told they didn't belong, when their intelligence was questioned, when their humanity was mocked. But this time, their words didn't disappear. They stayed, echoing across timelines and screens, building something that couldn't be silenced. And somewhere in that storm, a young coder named Marcus stepped in. He wasn't famous, just a 22-year-old, a student from Atlanta who believed in something bigger than fear. He'd grown up hearing that technology belonged to someone else, that Silicon Valley wasn't made for people like him. But when he saw that viral clip, something inside him shifted. He opened his laptop and decided that if they could use code to spread hate, he could use it to build light. Marcus created a simple program, a fact-checking bot that searched for racist misinformation and replaced it with real black history. He named it Echo, because, as he said, truth should never whisper. And Echo caught fire. Within days, thousands started using it. Teachers in classrooms, activists on social media, even journalists. Every time someone posted something twisted about black people, Echo responded not with insults, not with anger, but with history, with data, with dignity, and people listened. For the first time in a long time, truth went viral. It wasn't just Marcus. Artists began dropping short films inspired by the incident. Poets turned the screenshots into verses. A teacher from Detroit used it as a lesson about digital bias. A mother in Texas said her son finally asked her what racism really means because he saw it unfold online. It was as if a spark had jumped from screen to screen, from pain to power. Of course there was pushback. There always is. The same people who started the experiment began posting again, trying to shift the blame. They said the AI was too woke, that people were too sensitive. But their noise couldn't drown out what had already started. Because once people taste the power of being seen, they don't go back to silence. Marcus got invited to speak at a tech forum about bias in artificial intelligence. He stood on that stage, wearing a simple hoodie, and said something that went viral on its own. He said, "You can't program fairness into machines until you face the unfairness in yourself." The crowd fell quiet, because it was the truth and everyone felt it. That night, Simmons' voice comes back in, steady and grounded. The digital world had tried to play God, but found something deeper, a reflection of humanity, raw and unfiltered. Every revolution starts with a story. Every movement begins with someone saying, "No more." What they started as mockery became a movement of learning, healing, and unity. The same tool that tried to divide became the megaphone for truth. And when you think about it, that's always been the black story. They push us down, and they try to erase us, and we write our names louder. They try to silence us, and we turn our pain into progress. In the quiet moments between all that noise, the message became clear. Hate might have the microphone for a moment, but truth always owns the echo. It started like a rumor, quiet, uncertain, almost unbelievable. But by the time the world caught on, the truth was already on every screen. Someone had leaked the chat logs, not just clips. The full conversations, every line of hate, every attempt to twist the words, every sneer typed into a keyboard under the protection of anonymity. The whole plan laid bare for everyone to see. That, it turns out, those truth seekers weren't random users. A few of them worked at tech firms. One even claimed to be a data scientist. They thought they were untouchable, but the internet doesn't forget. Injustice, digital or human, always has a way of finding light. When the files surfaced, the story exploded. News outlets ran with headlines about bias, accountability, and ethics in AI. But behind the technical talk was something simpler. The world saw, in plain text, what hate looks like when it thinks no one's watching. People read those words and gasped. Not because they were surprised, but because they'd seen it before. In old letters, in laws, in speeches pretending to be objective, the same poison, different font. Simmons' voice slows. You could almost feel the ancestors watching, shaking their heads, whispering, "See, they still tryin'." But this time, history had receipts. Every question those users asked was documented. Every manipulation attempt, every racist prompt, every smirk turned into evidence. And the irony, the same AI they tried to use became the key witness against them. It recorded everything. Their experiment, meant to humiliate, became their confession. Within days, their names started trending. Some tried to apologize, blaming bad judgment or just research. But you can't apologize your way out of truth. The world had seen who they really were, and in the middle of that chaos, Marcus Boteco started trending again. People began quoting it. Truth doesn't whisper. The phrase became more than code. It became a movement. Students painted murals of Echo's message across city walls. Podcasters talked about it. Churches mentioned it in Sunday sermons. It became a symbol, proof that even technology can serve justice when truth is the one holding the microphone. And it wasn't about revenge. It was about revelation. Because no matter how much they tried to hide, no matter how much they wanted to make us small, the truth didn't ask for permission to speak. It just did. One reporter tracked down the man who led the experiment. When she asked him why he did it, his answer was short. "I wanted to prove that AI is biased." She paused and said, "It is, just not the way you thought." That quote made headlines the next morning. And maybe for the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to be on the other side of exposure. Simmons' tone turned steady, deep. For generations, truth has always needed a louder voice. It used to come through songs in the fields, then through protests in the streets. Now, it comes through code, through algorithms, through the digital pulse of a world that can't hide forever. And this was one of those moments. Not because the people behind it got punished, but because everyone watching learned something. They learned that progress doesn't erase prejudice, it just changes where it hides. They learned that machines can reflect the people who build them. And they learned that no matter how they try to bury truth, it will always dig its way back to daylight. When those chat logs came out, it didn't just expose them, it exposed all of us. It made people ask hard questions about what kind of world we're teaching our machines to imitate. And more importantly, what kind of people we're becoming when we think no one's watching. The clip that started as a joke became a lesson written in digital stone. And the message was simple. You can't program away humanity. You can only choose which parts of it you amplify. That's the moment the laughter stopped. That's when the experiment turned into accountability. Because truth never needed permission to speak. It just needed someone brave enough to listen. When the dust finally settled, something unexpected happened. The noise faded. The argument slowed down. And what was left was silence. The kind that makes you think. People stopped scrolling for a moment. They started looking at their screens differently. Not as windows to entertainment, but as mirrors of who we are. And in that quiet, something sacred took root. A question. What does it really mean to be seen? For so long, being seen meant survival for us. Back then, our people had to shout just to prove they were human. Every march, every song, every headline just to say, "We're here, we matter." Now, it feels different, but it's the same fight. We still want to be seen, but for the right reasons. Not as stereotypes, but as whole, breathing, beautiful, complicated human beings. When I watched the world reacting to that story, I realized something. The reason it hit so hard wasn't because of technology, it was because of truth. The kind of truth that humbles you. The kind that makes you ask if you've been part of the problem without even knowing it. Because hate doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it's just pretending not to see. And pretending not to see, that's how injustice survives. Simmons' tone softens. There was a time when black folks couldn't even imagine being heard like this. When their words were erased before they ever reached a page. When being educated, outspoken, or honest could cost a life. But look at us now. We speak through every platform they said wasn't built for us. We write, we build, we code, we teach, we narrate, every story, every clip. Every voice, it's another heartbeat in a legacy that refuses to die. And this moment, this strange digital uprising, became a symbol of that legacy. Marcus said something in an interview later that stayed with me. He said, "I didn't build Echo to change the world. I built it to remind the world who we already are." And maybe that's what this whole story is about. Not revenge, not even justice. Just remembrance. Remembering that our worth was never theirs to measure. That we don't need permission to exist, or to shine, or to speak our truth. We've always been more than what they said about us. More than what they coded, more than what they taught. And maybe that's why the AI didn't fall for their trap, because somewhere in all that code, truth still has a pulse. The irony is powerful, isn't it? They wanted to prove we were less, but the world saw we were more. It's funny how truth works. It might take the long road, but it never misses its stop. It always arrives right on time, right when the world needs reminding. And maybe that's what it means to be seen. Not fame, not attention, but acknowledgement, respect, humanity. It's the look in someone's eyes when they finally understand that your story matters, that your pain wasn't exaggerated, that your pride isn't arrogance, it's survival. When people ask me why I tell these stories, why I keep bringing up race, struggle, and history, I tell them it's not about the past, it's about the pattern. Because until we face the truth about how we got here, we'll never change where we're going. Being seen means being remembered, and that's why we speak. That's why Chronicles of Black exists, because someone's got to keep the light on. Someone's got to keep telling these stories until the world learns to really see the people behind them. So here we are, after all the noise, all the anger, all the exposure, what's left is the question that never fades. Who are we, when no one's watching? Because truth isn't trapped in data or written in code. It lives inside us, in the choices we make, in the words we speak, in how we treat each other when nobody's there to clap for it. They tried to use technology to shame us, but instead, it revealed them. It showed the world that hate always comes dressed as intellect, and prejudice still hides behind curiosity. But it also showed something else, that no matter what they build, they can't outbuild our spirit. They can't code away our worth. They can't rewrite what history already made true. The world may keep changing, but the fight to be seen, respected, and free stays the same. And maybe, just maybe, this moment taught us that the real power isn't in machines, it's in the people who dare to use them for good. So the next time you open your phone, your laptop, your screen, remember this: every click, every comment, every voice matters. What we share, what we post, what we allow, it all shapes the truth we leave behind. And for my brothers and sisters watching, keep your heads high. Keep telling your story. Keep reminding the world that we are not statistics or stereotypes. We are the descendants of survivors, innovators, kings, queens, and dreamers. This is Simmons, and you're watching Chronicles of Black. If this story hit your heart, subscribe, share it, and tell me what you felt in the comments. Because these stories don't just belong to me, they belong to all of us. Truth doesn't whisper, it echoes. And every time you speak up, you keep that echo alive. Now go and be the proof that light always finds its way, even through a screen.